Good morning, wrestling fans. Welcome to PWR today, Wednesday morning. Hey, it's the 1st of September. Get that rent check in. Get your mortgage payment in there. It's the man they call Meathead. It's the man they refer to as Matthew Thomas. Good morning, Matthew.
Don't listen to him. Good morning, by the way. Everybody knows you've got a grace period till the 3rd to get your rent check. So if you've got any debts or, you got to pay your local, whoever you have to pay before the rent, don't worry about it. You got a couple more days.
Get that check in.
And it's worth a shot to call your local landlord to see, along with their regular standard currency they accept. Give them a call just to check and see if they're accepting Thomas Tender yet. That's how you get Thomas Tender, accepted. As enough people start hearing inquiries about it, they're like, yeah, I guess I'll accept Thomas Tender.
Yeah, because that'll hold them off. That'll keep them at bay. Let us talk about the people that we never keep at bay, and it's the people that clothe us. It's our fine sponsor.
Even though I don't think they're technically accepting Thomas Tender yet, collarandelbowbrand.com is the place that you want to go to get your fall wardrobe put together. We are heading into the fall season, and you don't want to be wearing that same stuff that you were wearing the past couple of other seasons. So head on over there, get you a new wardrobe. Collarandelbow.com, enter promo code Linda K, LINDAKAY. Save you some money on that new fall wardrobe at collarandelbowbrand.com.
Hey, before we break into a bunch of the things, the little news bits that I want to talk about, you told me off air that you watched a little NWA Power and the NWA pay-per-view this weekend. How did it go for you?
You know what? It's fun to watch something that I don't normally watch. That's not WWE. That's not AEW. That's not Impact. It put up a really good presentation. And I actually haven't finished all of the main pay-per-view, all of Power, but the women's pay-per-view was really solid, and so far they're putting up a good show. Heck of a deal, man. It was $39.99 for 2 nights of wrestling entertainment, and they really put a good amount of effort in the NWA lineage. And, at one point during the women's pay-per-view, Billy Corgan brought out I believe it was Mildred Burke's actual belt that had not seen the light of day in a wrestling ring since, I believe, sometimes in the 50s. So they're really putting a lot of emphasis into the lineage of the NWA. And, the place they were at the Chase, the ballroom that they were in, I mean, I think they had a capacity crowd there. So really good to see, the NWA, making a go of it in 2021.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get started here with a little bit of news. First off, remember those superstars that were released from WWE on June 2nd? Should we run down the names here? Buddy Murphy, Braun Strowman, Lana, Ruby Riott, Santana Garrett, Aleister Black. Now, we know Aleister is now Malachi Black in AEW because he had a NXT contract, but the others had a 90-day no-compete clause. Well, that's up. So now, free agents could be showing up anywhere. Ruby Riott, Braun Strowman, Buddy Murphy, Lana, Santana Garrett. Your thoughts on what's going to happen?
I think you need Ruby Riott in AEW. I think they still need to continue to build that women's division. That is the main name I think that needs to go to AEW. We're getting to a point, man, where there is a loaded talent roster in AEW, and Braun and also Buddy Murphy. I think that you're getting to a point where you could have those two guys that would be mainstays in Impact. Now, not that they're not going to go to Impact, not that they're not going to go to AEW and make a big dent, but I mean, there are people that Impact could potentially build that company around. I'm really curious as to where everybody lands. And but we're talking like they're different companies now, and yes, they are, but that forbidden door is wide open. So, you can be an AEW, you can be an Impact and go back and forth, or end up in NWA, as we saw with some talent over the weekend. We know they're going somewhere other than WWE. That's pretty much all we know.
So Buddy Murphy going by Buddy Matthews now.
I like that.
I believe Braun Strowman is going by Titan. Just Titan. How that one got past the copyright people, I have no idea. Ruby Riott is using Ruby Soho, I believe, and Lana is going by CJ Perry, her real name.
And from what it sounds like Buddy Murphy's potentially trying to get into the running for Matthew to watch for 2022.
Yeah, that's exactly what he wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
well, you see how it's worked.
He cared about.
You see how it's worked for Matt Riddle.
Well, I mean, you got to call him where you see him. Hey, speaking of people that need jobs, Pat McAfee has already offered a job to Adam Cole to come work on his podcast with a very legitimate, serious contract offer. And Adam Cole responded by, "I'll think about it. I'm kidding. I hate you."
What a treasure Pat McAfee is.
$22,000 a year is what it looks like his assistants make. We will need to know your answer sooner than later. I mean, he might need to have a credit score run on him to get a job there. But Adam Cole getting job offers already.
Yeah, and I mean, with some stuff still closed down and people still working from home, I have heard that it takes a little while longer for background checks to come back. So I mean, he's probably pretty pressed. He needs a yay or nay to hopefully get the screening and whatnot done.
This will be spoiler free. I know everybody else has probably seen it already. I know you have not, but Heels episode 3 aired, and that was the CM Punk episode as well. CM Punk is absolutely fantastic and pretty entertaining in this episode, Matthew. That's all we'll talk about here, so it's not spoiled for you. But the ratings are in. There is a jump of almost 50% in viewership for the 18 to 49 demo. CM Punk is TV right now. The whole episode, ratings wise, jumped up 200%.
Yeah, and that there's no surprise there. I mean, here's the thing. We are just a few months back into live crowds, and there is no doubt every AEW audience, the people are extremely excited to be there. They're in the action. I mean, it is absolutely infectious turning on the AEW product on TV, and they consistently deliver, good weeks of television. They're doing so many right things. But the other side of that coin is, even if they had somebody out there reading the phone book, the audience is so captivated and so into the product that I think that continues to compound on itself.
And to be completely honest, yeah, it's really just it's a marriage made in heaven for the wrestling industry, for AEW, for TNT, for Punk. Everything is firing on all cylinders, right?
And I want to throw this out there too. This was an observation that I had a couple of weeks ago at SummerSlam, and it's made me much more cognizant of it on WWE programming now. Watch how the crowd is lit in AEW and watch how the crowd is lit in WWE. And, when I was at SummerSlam, and I thought maybe it was because it was a stadium show. And prior to that, I hadn't been to, a Raw show or a SmackDown in quite a while. But the audience felt pretty dark. And when
recently, Raw, I think, had blue and red hues across.
Yeah. And when I was watching Raw Monday night, it is a much more, it's the blue and the red, man. You don't have that well-lit audience feel like I typically associated WWE Raw and SmackDown with. It's a pretty... outside of your first few rows, man, that audience is not really visible. Gone are the days where somebody lower levels getting a very visible sign on, because it's much more of a house show type of lighting now on WWE's product, where you've got the old house show lighting where there's the spotlight on the ring and everybody else is dark. It's kind of what their TV programming is looking like now.
Well, it's my mood when I'm watching WWE programming a lot of times, which it shouldn't be.
Oh, my goodness. Well, you know what? I know we're going to get into our NXT recap here in a minute, but how interesting was it that the matches they advertised last week on NXT actually took place last night on NXT?
That's funny how that works. But first off, let's talk about Dynamite for tonight and segue off of the CM Punk stuff. There is another CM Punk segment going to happen tonight. Remember, it's Chicago all week, right? Dynamite, Rampage, meet and greets, and then the pay-per-view all out on Sunday. Which, again, folks, if you do not have the ability to order on pay-per-view, Local theaters, if you go to AEW's website, local theaters are showing the pay-per-view for $25. So I know Linda said she might end up catching that show in Milwaukee. We'll have to see how that goes. I mean, it's great, all out, sold out in Chicago this Sunday. Did you know that this Wednesday's Dynamite, tonight's Dynamite, is their 100th episode?
Yeah, I did catch that a few days ago. Wow, how the time flies.
I think it's amazing. And let's go back. Let's be revisionists here. Did we think that Dynamite would be in the spot that it's in today?
The most optimistic, best case scenario, perhaps. But this was this was the best case scenario. And you've heard Punk talk about it, in his in the setup of him going to AEW, how every year somebody comes and says, hey, we've got money and we're going to make a go of it. There were a lot of paths where this would not be the case, or it would go the case of the TNA Monday Night War that lasted for 6 weeks, where they went head to head with Raw. There was so much time. And of course, the launch of Dynamite in 2019, nobody ever envisioned the 18-month period that we were going to have. Talking about launching a new company like this, for them to go on the road and then have more shows in that single location in Daly's place than they actually had in front of audiences. It was, you've really got to look at that and say, my goodness, this company deserves a ton of credit, because they made a go of it when they were not able to travel.
Right. And, just the fortune of it being Daly's place being outside of the Jacksonville Jaguar Stadium, AEW owned by the people that owned the Jacksonville Jaguars. So they didn't have to pay rent. It didn't hurt their bottom, their pocketbook. It didn't hurt the bottom dollar. So they were very fortunate. They were the first ones to get the wrestlers, outside the ring to make it look like they had a crowd. So the people were there watching. I think they just home run after home run. They've misstepped, obviously, but I cannot believe here we are 2 years later. Almost 2 years later, because, 100 episodes would be, only, 100 weeks. So, 2 years would be 54 or, 104. So, but their 2-year anniversary, about a month away. I cannot believe that we're there. I thought maybe we'd have a show. We've been through Impact launching before, right? Kind of like you said. And we got excited about Impact. I got excited about WCW when they were shown. I never thought that we would have AEW in the place that they're at now. And it's great for the business. Not just for AEW, but it's great for the business.
Well, we're at a point now where it's not just a stationary alternative. It is the cool place for people to defect to.
Right. And not everybody's defecting. Again, we just talked about those releases. Maybe they're going there because that's the next option. But, here we are. All right, let's talk NXT from last night as well. NXT, we've been told about these changes coming. We've seen the logo teased. Your thoughts on that new logo?
It doesn't really mean anything to me either way. They've built a good brand, with their color
like the
scheme.
heavy metal logo with the the Triple H looking logo.
Yeah. I don't necessarily see where a rebrand with a different logo is necessarily a huge positive. No,
this is not positive. That's the whole point.
Yeah. So I don't really know what they're trying to get across here. I don't know that there's that large amount of people lobbying for, hey, NXT needs a new logo.
And they just got that logo within the last year.
There's not that groundswell of, hey, this is what they really need to do.
So a couple highlights from NXT last night. Dragunov arrives limping, pretty beat up. He's got that big stitches, that big cut, the stitches over his right eye. But he says, the general has fallen. Long live the Tsar. Nice little strong promo to take back home to NXT UK.
Yeah, and I'll give him credit. I think he's going to get some additional eyes on NXT UK. him and Walter. I mean, those two matches that they've had, you got two matches where people are talking about it's two of the best matches they've ever seen. I mean, so I think by getting that match on that takeover, hopefully you'll put some eyes back on the NXT UK. And as it seems like a lot of WWE's main roster booking is very different than what you get NXT, what you get NXT UK, what you even get over in AEW. I think there is that thirst within the context of WWE for people to see that type of wrestling.
Excuse me. I'm going to spend a little time on LA Knight and Johnny Gargano. LA Knight looked good. LA Knight gets the win. Johnny Gargano comes out with just Indy Hartwell and Dexter Lumis. So Index coming out to support Johnny Gargano. While we're focused on LA Knight, being this, because LA Knight, honestly, they've got this edict out that says, I only want superstars now that look like they can main event WrestleMania.
Yeah.
LA Knight looks like he can main event WrestleMania.
100%.
Okay? Johnny Gargano and Indy Hartwell and Dexter Lumis were the stars of this whole night and the stars of this match. Dexter Lumis at the end of this match, holding his face still, but his eyeballs moving. Yeah. It was a damn spit take for me. That I lost it. That popped me something fierce.
I think this was just excellent booking because you had that further development of the storyline with Index and Johnny Gargano. Gargano didn't need to win this. LA Knight getting a win over Johnny Gargano is a big deal. It's a good, upward move for LA Knight. And then, this lends itself to that storyline further developing and the, interplay between Lumis and Johnny Gargano. I thought this was.
They almost did that wave move.
This is how you write wrestling. This is how you write it in the script, Meathead.
Oh boy, you're not talking about heels again, are you?
It's a casserole, mama.
That's casserole, mama. But I'm telling you, dude, seriously, if you guys have it still saved, go back and watch Dexter Lumis at the end of that match, and he's just got that same look on his face, but his eyes keep going left and right, like the Nia Jax.
The cat clock.
It's oh my god! I literally that was a spit take for me. I lost it for that.
You know what I'm talking? I'm talking about the little clock.
Yeah, the cat clock. Sure.
Yeah, cat clock. Say that 3 times.
Those
fast.
Things are creepy. All right. Let's talk about Joe's promo. How strong was that?
Yeah, it was good. And despite all the changes that we are hearing NXT making, that WWE kind of seems to be in the midst of, having Samoa Joe as your champion in any division, I think is a good move.
We'd be remiss if we didn't bring up the promo with Cameron Grimes and the grizzled young veterans. Cameron Grimes dropped the WWE Shop version of the $1 Million Championship, and they added the sound effect on it because it sounded like a 10-pound belt landing on his feet. To the moon.
Yeah, no, I think they, did a good job of making sure we at least got a few minutes of Cameron Grimes.
All right, and then finally, Tommaso Ciampa with, to me, a surprise victory over Ridge Holland.
Yeah, I thought this was potentially, an avenue to elevate Ridge Holland. But I mean, overall, we had him picking up the win here. We had Kyle O'Reilly earlier in the show picking up the win over my man, the Duke. The guy that I picked to win the whole tournament, and I still think is your standout star on NXT. So okay. It was a night where they went back to some of their mainstay talents picking up victories.
All right, that was NXT. I mentioned Nia Jax, and we talked a little bit about it. Let's spend the last couple minutes talking about this, Matthew. Nia Jax and Charlotte on Monday Night Raw. Tell me how you feel.
It broke down towards the end. I mean, there's no going back and watching that. And honestly, it was a match that I was not that attentive to as it was taking place on Monday night. But going back and watching, the final 4 or 5 minutes of that, it seems to have potentially originated when Charlotte landed not great on a suplex there. And then, you've got a sequence there where There's some stiff shots exchanged between both of them, and not a lot of cooperation as far as spots go. So anybody who hasn't, gone back and potentially rewatch that, who did not catch that as it happened live, them two women got to shooting on each other, or so it appears.
Well, it's still on the DVR, so I'll have to go back and take a look. But thank you for pointing it out, Matthew, and thank you guys for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Facebook, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, all these other places that you guys check us out. Again, we see you. We love you. Just like CM Punk said to you, I hear you. I see you. And we see you too. So for Matthew Thomas, I'm the man that called me. We'll talk again tomorrow morning. So long, everyone.